Hello everyone, my name is Scott Wilhite. Let's do a quick video, hopefully less than 10 minutes. And I wrote a script. Since I'm going to be making a lot of these videos, I want to get an introductory message memorized. And this may be close to what I use. This is a channel to bring awareness to a cultural phenomenon that continues to plague and corrupt the criminal justice system here in the United States. The disease is the myth of rape, especially female on male rape. But both. It's neither are okay. I'm a victim of that crime, and I have a story to tell, but I'm only the chauffeur. I'm only the marshal of a bizarre story in search of an ending, and in this case, ending is synonymous with justice. I have a previous video, the first video I uploaded, about 10 minutes long, that shares those details. The justice that I seek. And if you solve it, there's a $250,000 reward. And along the way, in these videos, I'm going to bring awareness to what non-consensual sex practically looks like in today's modern day. So last night, I talked about a research paper that I read, I thought a couple of months ago, but as it turns out, it was February of this year. And what it did was three researchers did an analysis of reviews of books on Goodreads that tell a couple of different stories of sexual assault, sexual violence. And they focused on female against male and how that contrasts against movies like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Well, I didn't have it in front of me, and I basically had it right. What the researchers did was, as I said, compare and contrast how people react to different situations for a non-academic mind, not as it relates to sexual violence. But I've wondered for many, many years, or I've kind of thought in the back of my mind, about the phenomenon of the first Rambo movie with Sylvester Stallone. If you think about it, Rambo is an outcast. He's a Vietnam vet, but he's a loitering criminal. He is, but everybody pulls for him in his crusade to overcome a big bad corrupt sheriff, Brian Dennehy. Do you know for anybody who's watched that movie? Do you know anybody who pulled for the sheriff, Brian Dennehy, as Rambo's blowing up the town? Like, yeah, Rambo. Take down the man. Well, the same phenomenon happens in all media. A word about the last video I uploaded last night. That was me telling about Tyler Clementi. Don't read too much into that. I got very emotional and I wanted to share that. And it's because the Tyler Clementi story is just horrifically sad. But if you've ever, speaking of media, watched the movie Dumb and Dumber, the first one, where Lloyd and Harry are in the hotel room and they're crying watching a Pacific Telephone, or maybe Pacific Telesis, fake commercial in the movie, about someone calling their mother on Mother's Day, which, by the way, is the busiest day, used to be the busiest day for every phone company. I'm retired from there, so I kind of know that stuff. But anyway, Lloyd and Harry are crying on the bed while they're watching a 30-second commercial of Call Your Mom on Mother's Day. Well, the Farrelly brothers who wrote that movie are making fun of me, people like me. Because I'll cry at the end of, I have been known to cry at the end of a OnStar commercial. It's, the GPS system they put in cars, where there used to be commercials about if a car had a wreck and OnStar would call for help, and by the end of the 30-second commercial, the person that's in the wreck is somebody's come and saved their life. Well, this is I'm sensitive. Okay, so that I wanted to upload it, to kind of share the sometimes I'll get that emotional over over the concept of empathy, over empathy. I have empathy. And also misspoke and said MDA last night, that I would be addicted to that. It's MDMA. We used to call it ecstasy. I don't know what they call it now. Anyway, so this study, It's about how commenters and reviewers of film react to the different scenarios involving sexual violence, male on female, female on male. So, sexual violence elicits strong emotional reactions, particularly in the fictional context. Male on female rape is highlighted as a powerful narrative vehicle. I'm not going to read this whole thing, just 2 paragraphs that are poignant. Male on female rape is highlighted as a powerful narrative vehicle. Chauffeur, I'm transporting the viewer from one frame of mind to another. This is common parlance. Narrative vehicle that can provoke a range of emotional responses, including voyeuristic pleasure, negative emotional reactions such as fear, disgust, revenge. In contrast, the sexual victimization of men is relatively underrepresented in media. I'll finish this before I talk about the memoir. In contrast, the sexual victimization of men is relatively underrepresented in media, with male-on-male rape within prison settings being the most prevalent portrayal. Sexual violence against men is frequently framed as either comic or retributive in movies, with rape scenes either peripheral or central to their plot. Such portrayals may diminish viewer empathy or even promote identification with the offenders. In recent years, rape narratives that turn the tables and depict female-on-male sexual violence are increasingly being incorporated into the representational tropes of many media products. While female-on-male rape remains largely unacknowledged as a social reality, a vast variety of popular audiovisual media products, mostly television and musical, portray women who sexually offend or rape men within a rape revenge narrative logic. The effective potential of rape revenge narrative pattern, structured around the evocation of shame, disgust, rage, and feelings of vengeance, has also been broadly used in films such as Kill Bill, I Spit on Your Grave, or The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, indicating the existence of a distinct cinematic genre. Meanwhile, other cinematic representations of female-on-male rape, such as Horrible Bosses, Get Him to the Greek, frame sexual violence perpetrated by women against men as comedy, trivializing it as laughable impossibility. And then the study goes on and it talks about the hurdles and overcoming obstacles in storytelling. Because even fictional media frames and primes our minds. This is common knowledge. So that's the study I was talking about last night. And I have written a memoir I did in 2020. I talked about it last night. That's my bug zapper. And I rewrote the first chapter probably 10 times, some 8 times so far since 2020. And probably 6 of those times were not necessary, but it did change the essence of the introduction, so to speak. Because I've been formally trained on how to write, and half of the academic literature on sexual violence against either sex is how it's not correctly received, how justice is denied because of the intolerances in not just society, but in the criminal justice system. Police just don't care. And even though I talked about P. Diddy last night, and I hope those victims get justice, but it's a show trial for the DOJ. Good for the victims that the DOJ is doing this. But there's the numbers, the statistics around inaction. When someone, either a female or a male, reports the rape to police are just horrific. And it ruins lives. And I was foolish enough to think that that wasn't the case in 2006, and I reported what happened to me. Lo and behold, the district attorney, Dusty Broadfoot knew every law enforcement person of importance in the town, especially the district attorney, who she says loved her, because she used to work in the district attorney's office. So I was met with that. Now he's gone. He was convicted of a crime, sent to prison. But in writing that memoir, even though I wasn't, my degrees are political science, not in literature or not in writing. But in writing that memoir, I still knew that I'm overcoming intolerances, societal intolerances for women that seem impossible to overcome. And as a political pollster, I used to call jurors. We call them voters, but voters and jurors are the same thing. All jurors are just registered voters in a particular county, randomly selected. And I've asked them questions as part of, a polling survey, serious one, commissioned by, last two I did was commissioned by the Dallas Morning News. And I was at a university as a research assistant. And I've called and asked voters, likely voters, Republican, Democrat, and unaffiliated, how they feel about the exception to abortion for victims of rape. And when you hear a Republican female, 70 years old, say, nope, she probably deserved it, you kind of know that this is a tough topic to introduce for women. Even worse for men. But that's apparently my calling. So Dusty Broadfoot introduced me to this crime, and I've been studying real hard on how to bring it to the forefront. Female on male, non-consensual violence. And this research paper and many others talks about how people's emotional reaction to these things are real. And a lot of them talk about how to overcome it. And I'm not a great public speaker. I've worked in radio before as an on-air personality, and I've been a DJ at a nightclub for about 8 years, although there's no talking there. But I've always loved talking in front of people. I have what's called essential tremors, so I mix words up sometimes. Words that I know when I write that flow perfectly just get buried somewhere from this essential tremor. So if you hear me pause and try to think of the perfect word, I know it's a essential tremor. It's not going to kill me. It's just a nuisance. But that's what this channel is, and that's what I'm going to bring awareness to. And this research paper right here talks about how messaging and how the idea rubs people, for lack of a better term. But that's okay, because this is a positive channel about making people aware of what consent means in the moment, when it matters the most. Because you don't want to jump into an intimate act with someone if you're not fully informed of everything going on around you. And yeah, you can change your mind in the middle of what's going on and say no. But you should have a conversation beforehand. Okay, that's it. This is 14 minutes. I meant to make it 10. Thanks for watching. See you later.